So I'm a paid staffer, but you're just as important as I am. And matter of fact, in my mind, you're more important because you make me look good to my bosses. All right. So the way I look forward to working with you is I'm an asset. I'm somebody who can give you tools to make your job easier. All right. And I don't mean to stand right in front of you, blocking your view and everything. All right. So that said, when we started out as Indivisible, we were all just, people who were, upset about the Trump election, and we didn't know what one person could do. So if you hit the space bar now, we were suffering from indivisibility. Indivisible. Well, but so what happened is we came together in groups. Everybody saw the Google documents, and people started organizing just organically. You shut down the website that they had until they had to hire someone to do something where more people could see the Google Doc at once. So that's part of the history that Kim was talking about. But as the groups formed, and as they had town halls, and as you had events, and as people went to airports to protest Trump's Muslim ban, we started gaining notice. And then Rachel Maddow had Ezra on, and it just kind of grew from there. So we went from invisible to indivisible. And the power that we have rests in all of the local groups doing what they need to do in their communities. All right. I've worked for 14 years organizing campaigns. I've worked issue campaigns, but I've also worked with the Democratic Party. I am not an enemy of the Democratic Party. I've worked in New Mexico, Wisconsin, Georgia, and South Carolina for Democratic Party candidates. Some of whom weren't, the Dennis Kucinich's of the world, or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They weren't as progressive as AOC. And I know how to run a Democratic Party campaign. What Indivisible can do is work outside the party to bring those who've been disaffected by the two-party system into the mix. I don't know about you, but after a while I was, I understood what people were saying when they said, a pox on both parties. Because too often, and sorry for the Democrats in the room, but too often, party trumps issues, and I'm an issues person. We can work outside of the Democratic Party system and augment what the Democratic Party does, in developing candidates, all the good work that Democrats do, developing candidates, holding, having elected officials that hold the Republicans accountable, all of that important stuff. But we can work outside, bring new people in, fresh blood. Having run a congressional campaign, I know how important it is to get volunteers and young volunteers who can walk up mountainous roads to knock on people's doors. I know that's important. And we're the ones who can get them excited, and then they can take the next step, and if they so choose, and, come on into the Democratic Party. So we will be indivisible and not invisible. So let's go to the next one. I don't even remember what the slide is.
That's it.
Oh yeah, the exclamation points. Let's go next. All right. Just briefly, Indivisible has a number of departments. Next. And once more. You can't see this, but it says policy. The policy people.
Yeah, can somebody reach that up there maybe?
We got Philippines talking.
Yeah.
It's not determined up to breaking it off.
That's all right. I'll just make sure I'm not blocking my own words. The policy team does all the research into whatever issue is being debated in Congress. And they're the ones who come up with just the one-page briefings that we try to email to all the group leaders, and I see a lot of the group leaders put it up on Facebook and share it with the membership. So policy is the one who comes up with those explainers. The political team works their contacts on Capitol Hill to know which which member of Congress is voting for a particular issue that we're for, or against a particular issue we're against. The communications team, they're the ones who inform you and infuriate you by sending you lots of emails. But it's important that you know what's going on, even if you just breeze through, read the headline, and then delete it. I have no illusions that you save all of the Indivisible emails, and I'm betting you're not going to save the ones that I send you to. All right. Social media. Whenever a local group has an event, I know you all take pictures. That's just who we are now. We have a camera in our phone, and we'll take a picture of a squirrel crossing the road, and we'll take pictures of the events that we have. Social media can amplify those events and bring them to a larger national audience. For example, right now I have a group in Minnesota in St. Peter and Mankato. So Mankato, some of us might remember, was in Little House on the Prairie. And I have actually been there. It's a place. It exists. And they are currently visiting their Republican congressperson every Thursday, rain or shine, 23 below or no. That's when I went to one of their office visits. It was 23 below. Thankfully, we didn't have to stay outside and protest. We went inside and tried to talk with the staffer, and she wasn't too receptive. But we got pictures of them, and we put it up on our national Twitter feed. And more people can see that even in southern farm country Minnesota, people are protesting their Trump-like Republican representatives. All right, and what else do I have? Training. I just added that one in. I'd forgotten it when I gave this talk in Minnesota. We have a training department. So if Kim, or when I take over, if we can't get to you to give you the training you need, we have a training department that we can call on, and even if they're not going to be here in person, they'll be able to do it through a video conference. And so all you have to do is ask. If I'm not able to do it, I will find you someone who can. All right? And in my past things, we click on that and show you the resources. Let's see if it'll go quickly. Yay! So these are the resources, and if you scroll up, or scroll down, I'm sorry. Make it go that way. There we go. So how states can fight money in politics. Fighting gerrymandering. It says here in the Texas legislative session, but there are ways that we can do it in North Carolina as well. They've updated it since last I looked, so that's a good thing. But these are all of the explainers that can show you what's happening in the country, but also how you can use it to affect your locality. Let's go back to the, there you go. And the next slide. Okay, you all asked about Indivisible on offense, correct? Am I getting to where?
I did.
Yes.
Okay, so we're not going backward. That's why that one's scribbled out. We're going forward. And, no, go back.
Go backward.
That's right, I lied.
Okay, hold on, wait. Backwards.
Got it?
Oh, there we go.
Yay. Yeah, click on that one, please.
I'm trying to click on it.
Okay.
It's not working.
Sometimes.
The link isn't fine. I'll go to it. I'll copy and paste.
Okay. All right, so Indivisible on offense basically means now that we have a majority of Democrats in the House, there's a way that we can use that pressure, or use that fact to pressure Trump into doing some good things, or at least making sure he doesn't do the worst things that he wants to do. And she's going to bring it up in a minute. There we go. Right there. No, you hit Stacey Abrams.
I can't take the pressure.
It's too much.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
we're gonna send him back to some training.
Okay, here we go. It's disappearing on me. There it is.
Okay, there we go. So there are 5 parts to the Indivisible on offense, but basically what it is we can use our newfound power to affect what's going on nationally, but also locally. So if we click on chapter 1, please. And scroll down a bit. Yay. All right. First thing is we can set the agenda, and Nancy Pelosi has already done so. HR 1 was a lot of voting rights legislation that Republicans have been trying to roll back state by state. It's fine, it passed the House, we know it won't pass the Senate. But the thing is, because it did pass the House, it's showing everyone in the country what we intend to do when we take back the Senate in 2020. All right? So it's not an exercise in futility by passing that legislation. It's signaling to people what can happen when they come and pull that Democratic lever. Does North Carolina still have No, they did away with that too. All right. Well, so when they vote for the people with the D's next to their name. You know, if you can go to section 2 again, we skipped over. Here we go. A little bit further. All right. We can also, so this is what I was saying, messaging bills like HR 1. But there are must-pass bills too. And those are mostly the funding bills that fund the government. We went through the shutdown because Indivisibles gave Democrats in Congress the spine to say no to Trump. It was Indivisibles going to their members of Congress's offices, whatever the correct grammar is there, and making phone calls and making sure that, first off, they knew we had their backs, but also that we would be quite angry if they caved. And they didn't. And that's to their credit. And it's not all Indivisible doing it. The members of Congress, you know, some of them have spines as well. So that's good. But we made it so we could pass a funding bill that was good for the country, that was better than what Trump wanted, spending $5.7 billion on a wall no one wants. Not even the people in Texas want it. Not even the Republicans in Texas want it. All right? So that's important as well. Now we're at number 3. The offense through oversight and investigations. Once again, this is something where we can signal to the elected Democrats that we have your backs. Keep the investigations going, keep the pressure on Trump. He's going to make a mistake sooner rather than later because he's already feeling the pressure.
Just one mistake?
He's going to make the fatal, all right, but fatal to his presidency anyway. I can only hope for little steps, not the grand steps. All right. But so oversight and investigations. You know, I don't know why, but when the Republicans had majorities in both houses, they did not use their oversight responsibilities, or they didn't fall in with their oversight responsibilities. And the Democrats can, and they're doing it. Jerry Nadler has already subpoenaed a bunch of different things, and he's standing firm in demanding that we get everything. We're also standing firm in trying to get the full Mueller report, not just little bits and pieces that Barr wants us to read. All right. The list that Kim just passed up showed all of the different executive departments. There we go. So the executive branch departments, the relevant committees in both the House and the Senate. And if you look, go to your member of Congress's website and find out what committees those representatives and senators are on. Then you'll know that if something is coming up in the, where are we? The Natural Resources Committee or the Energy and Natural Resources Committee in the Senate, that might affect the great natural resources we have in this part of the states. That's a way you can use that leverage to get even a Republican member to vote the way you want that person to vote. I know that right now they're not going to build that pipeline they wanted to cross over mountains, and that's a good thing. That's the one in Virginia, right? Yep, are they, are any of them planned, to go through North Carolina?
Maybe the one that just exploded?
Okay. Yeah, so I'll tell anybody, who wants to listen, and probably a lot that don't. I'm a big hiker. I've hiked the AT. I've done 1,400 miles out of the 2,200 miles. And I haven't done the part in North Carolina and Georgia and Tennessee yet, but I will, because now that I've maneuvered Kim out of North Carolina, I'll have an excuse to come up with more.
Hey, wait a minute.
Well, I mean, you can come hike with me.
That's,
Okay.
send me pictures.
But, you know, it was gonna, clear cut, right through, the AT and right through, mountains and why? You don't need to do that. But it's just an example of how we can use our leverage in the House especially, to pressure Republicans into actually voting, the way we want them to. And then we also can't forget about defense. We do not have a majority in the Senate. Tom Tillis is actually voting to get himself reelected rather than voting the Republican Party line. And keeping up that pressure on him and reminding him that he's coming up for reelection is one way that all of your groups can still be effective and have an effect nationally. Not just your local area, not just your state. You can be stars on the national stage if you want to be. If you want to, I would rather, kind of be behind the scenes and be the Wizard of Oz sort of character. But for those of you who like to talk to the TV cameras, I'll prepare you very well for that. But this is what Indivisible on Offense is all about, is doing what we had done organically, but taking it further and, showing Democrats we have their back. Every time we pat them on the back, saying, get used to saying no to Trump, that emboldens them even more, and, it has a snowball going uphill effect. All right, Indivisible tools. We'll go to the next. We have the NGP van. Now, does everyone know what the van is? Okay. VAN stands for Voter Action Network, Voter Activation Network. And basically, you might know it as Vote Builder. Okay? Vote Builder is a database that the Democratic Party uses to figure out which voters to contact, how to contact them, and how to get them to the polls. I've worked with it extensively for state level, congressional level, and presidential level candidates. I know it backwards, forwards, inside and out. Indivisible has its own version of the VAN. And it's not to be in competition with the Democratic Party's VAN. The Democratic Party and Indivisible legally cannot coordinate their efforts in this regard. It's just, it's a law. We have not been able to change it yet, and we're not Republicans. We don't just ignore the law when it suits them. Okay? It sounds like your Republicans are very good at it. But what we can use the Indivisible van for is just the same thing that the Democratic Party uses it for, or any of the candidates use it for, is to use it to do phone banks and to do canvasses. All right? Ours are a little bit different. And when we talk to a voter, instead of saying, hi, can you vote for Democrat X? We say, hi, we're with your local Indivisible group, and we want to know what issue is most important to you. All right? And, within the script, you'll have 10 issues. I don't go through the laundry list. I'm not a robot. Hello, do you want to, is the issue most important to you the environment? Check yes. Instead, what I do is I encourage the voter to point out what's most important to that voter, and then talk about what Indivisible is doing on that particular issue. That way, when we have different forums and different, presenters, let's say on healthcare, and we have a ready base of people we can call to say, hey, we've got healthcare experts at this forum at this time. Can we mark you down as attending, or and that way, instead of 5 people in a room listening to someone who has something important to say, you get 25 or 100. I shoot for the stars, so we'll
What's NGP?
NGP, I forget what it stands for, but it's the company that created the van. I know it was just 2 people. Do you know?
No, I don't have another question.
Okay.
When we have this information from our phone calls and we have all these health people that are concerned, are we able to then share that with the Democrats?
No.
No, we can't say, we have this group of people, the biggest concern we have are people concerned about health care. We can't then say to the Democratic people, we have the biggest concern in our area among people that we've talked to is health care.
Well, no, you could say that.
Okay, that's
You
my
just
question.
wouldn't be able to say, hey, these are all the voters who said they're healthcare.
But I could say, the biggest concern in my community
Yes.
is health care.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
And also, we could have a forum on healthcare, and we could invite all those people as well as the Democrats.
Exactly.
okay.
And so we could all still be together, we just didn't coordinate efforts to get the event.
Right. If you post a public event, and a Democratic Party official shows up, so much the better. Maybe they'll join Indivisible too.
But if the Democrats came to us and said, what do you feel like we know you've done this research, what do you feel like the greatest concern is in our community? I would feel comfortable sharing that.
Yeah, I don't see that would be running afoul of any restrictions.
Okay.
The other benefit that came up when we had lunch with the Taylorsville group is, regardless of whether this impacts the Democrats, if win or lose, when candidates, at the end of the election, those candidates don't give you all the data from all the doors they've knocked. They pack it up and leave, so then you guys are stuck.
Start over again.
I've worked with the Wisconsin, believe it or not, North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, and New Mexico state parties. Every state party and every campaign within those states is different. Sometimes the campaigns have no problem turning over information they found to the state party, and the state party updates their van accordingly. And sometimes it doesn't happen for whatever reason. If we take care and use good data hygiene, the way it's been referred to, data hygiene. Data needs to brush its teeth and take showers.
Flossing sounds a little bit like redacting though.
That could be. But, basically, if a local group does the canvases and virtual phone banks and whatnot, and talks about these issues, and comes up with data on voters, then when it comes to the next campaign cycle, and you endorse a particular candidate, you'll have a ready-made group of voters to reach out to, but you would have to use that data as an indivisible group and not for that particular campaign. And there are restrictions. You can't call up the campaign and say, hey, we're going to be canvassing in this area where you can't coordinate in that manner.
Can you cover why?
It's just, it goes against campaign finance laws. It's nothing that, we don't want to share, it's that we are legally not allowed to. Because we're a 501c4, and we would put our nonprofit status at risk. And that would mean, little old Madison County Indivisible runs afoul, and all of a sudden none of the other indivisibles across the country would be able to do any canvassing or whatnot. Van will, as the Bernie Sanders campaign found out, Van will not hesitate to turn off your access. And I'm not slamming the Sanders campaign. I actually worked for them. But it will happen if you don't follow the terms of agreement that you signed for when you paid money to use the van.
So I want to ask one question, I won't ask anyone. Until I ask the next one. So you, in your position, as we struggle with this issue, because we're new in working with the Democrats, and we're very new at trying to forge a bond with this working together.
Mm-hmm.
Are you available to us to ask these questions, so we aren't
Yes.
stepping on toes and doing things that are not correct, because we don't want to be causing problems? Can we pick up the phone or email you and you would answer those questions for us?
Yes.
That's what you do.
I'll answer any phone call I get up to about midnight. I will not answer at 7 in the morning, okay?
Okay.
For those early risers, don't do that, please.
And we have a whole legal compliance department that we rely on, so.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have a legal compliance department. We also have a data department, and let's just say they make sure that we cross our T's and dot our I's.
Because we want to be really clear about what we're doing.
But I've worked with within the van a lot. I've worked with compliance a lot when I was running campaigns, so I can talk you through stuff if you have questions.
Good, thank you.
Okay,
Stuart's turn.
your turn.
Nathaniel Goss Perlman.
That's your name?
No.
NGP.
That's NGP. His company. There you go. Sorry, I'll shut up now.
I thought it was no good politician.
Well,
Just wondered.
or natural gas power. You know, good with that. Well, that's a nice one.
Okay, and we also have a distributed fundraising tool. It sounds like you all have already taken advantage of that. Is that, which group
We
has?
both have.
Both have it.
Both have,
And
okay.
Madison County gets donations matched in April also.
Cool. So it's a nice money tree. Unfortunately, they don't grow in South Carolina. So, do they grow up here?
Uh-huh.
Nice. All right, I'm gonna find one in my height. All right, we'll go to the next one. And another tool. Click it again.
There's a tool.
That's me. Yeah, you can't see because you're from the side, but it's a picture of me. I'm the guy in the top hat there too. This is at a public Services Commission hearing. They were trying to raise electric rates. And I played the Monopoly man saying, yeah, raise those rates. I need another ring. All right. But I'm a tool for you to use. In that, I have 14 years of experience doing this. I got my start in political organizing in North Carolina. I volunteered for the Dennis Kucinich campaign in 2004. I was living in Raleigh, and helped that campaign out. In 2004, we're not in Buncombe County anymore, are we?
Yes.
We are.
Yep.
All right, in 2004, Dennis Kucinich won Buncombe County, and Watauga County, and Orange County, and came in second in Durham and Wake counties, which meant I got to go to the Democratic National Convention as a Kucinich delegate for the state of North Carolina.
He campaigned last year.
He did. Susan Reed is, she lives in Boone, and she was the organizer in this area. But that was my start on the road to fame and glory. I like that people laugh like I'm.
What was this guy's name again?
They're both from Ohio.
But, you know, I saw that I was good at, or I thought I was good at doing this stuff. I got 800 people to come to see Dennis Kucinich in Carborough, North Carolina, so that's got to count for something.
Carver.
Carborough.
Right next to Chapel.
Yes, we had the mayor declare it Dennis Kucinich Day. It was awesome. So organizers can provide experience, reassurance, no, you're not, you can, talk to the Democratic Party leader that you met at a bar, you're not going to be sharing information running afoul of laws. Expertise, we each have our own kind of expertise. I'm good with the van. I can run a canvas with 2 hours sleep. I can set up virtual phone banks and talk people through how to run them. Kim is a former group leader and is better at herding cats than I am.
I taught middle school, so.
Yes. That skill set directly applies to. All right. I can be a sounding board. If you're running into a particular challenge, I'm there to listen. One of the things I try to do is, instead of telling you what to do, I'll listen to you, and more often than not, you'll be able to work it out yourself, but it helps to have someone to bounce ideas off of first. And the same with guidance. I guess I could have, combined a couple of the bullet points. I'm also a link to all of the departments in DC that I talked about at the beginning of my spiel.